So, without further ado, I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce This is another in a series of live broadcasts enjoying the creative sounds of music and harmony. Hope you enjoy. Don't touch that dial. Keep it locked. Tuned in and turned on.
Welcome to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro. Not just numbers, not just stats. It's about what they mean. And now, your host, the Maestro.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with your boy, me, the Maestro. Hopefully everybody's feeling awesome. As always, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Truly appreciate all the feedback. Truly appreciate all the thoughts. And I will keep saying it. I will give you roses while you're here. We're building this ship together. We're having fun. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for everyone who said you should do this, because believe me, I wouldn't be doing this if you guys didn't say that. So I definitely appreciate everything. Let's talk about a player that I saw that showed more than what I would look for as someone if I would consider them as my guard. And that's J.C. King. 6'5", 186 pounds, 15 years old, didn't play like it. The first thing that came to mind when I watched him play was just smart. And I'll tell you why in a minute. One, there were really good decisions that he made all throughout the game. He was able to put his teammates in good positions. He stayed in good position himself, which is going to lead into my statement about why that was the first thing I wrote down when I watched him play. Just really good decisions, moved exceptionally well without the ball, and he used his talent to their potential when he needed to force the defense into a position. And this is something that we've talked about before. Sometimes you can V-cut with the ball. I know that doesn't sound like it makes sense, but just hear me out with this. If I have the ball, I make a hard step like I'm going to cut to the bucket. Then I make an equally hard step away. I've shifted my defensive man and I've made the other defensive members react. Once I move them, my team is what? More open and more ready and more prepared to take our next step to take advantage of that leverage. He did that a lot. Very quick first step. He made that little jab step move. I know that's the more common phrase for it, but the reason I call it a V cut, how I would coach it, is because I don't want you to just make a step and then come back to your spot. I want you to make a step with the intention of going to another spot. Even if you're shifting over 2 or 3 steps, you've changed the perspective of the defense of where the ball is. You've given yourself an opportunity to change their view, and only you knew you were going to do that. You and your boys are now in a better position to get it done, as it were, right? JC, what he was able to do, again, not being disrespectful, calling him by his first name, but JC King, what he was able to do, he did that a lot because his first step is so fast. And I'm going to lead that into the other great decision-making move he made all night. Whenever one of his teammates brought the ball up the court, specifically one of the big men, he would wait. He would wait in the defensive backfield to let them bring the ball up, not to clog the floor, to give the play a chance to settle. If it didn't settle, he would then run up, take the ball, and reset the play. And he did that multiple times during the night. I actually stopped counting at 8. I'm sure he did more than that. That is that high-level, over-the-top, Einstein-level basketball mentality. I don't know. It doesn't matter where it came from. The fact that he did it so many times, I had to believe it was intentional. And believing that it was intentional, if it's not, you should start doing it more. That is something that guards don't do. A lot of times they'll run up on a play and they will clog the floor, forcing the big man or the other person with the ball to make an unfortunate decision in some cases. And what he did was, again, numerous occasions, he would stay back, opposite side of the floor, defensive three-quarter position, wait to see what was going to happen. Once the play wasn't going anywhere, there's that speed. He comes up, he gets into the play, resets the defense, begin to move his people. That is that level of thinking that you want to see at this stage, because that's just going to get better. When you talk about players who know how to manipulate the floor, specifically guards, yes, other positions should too. I know it's positionless basketball, Maestro. I know. But what JC King did in resetting the floor, every time he did that, he put his team in a position, even though the clock didn't reset, their cycle for the play and the principles were able to reset. So imagine doing that when you actually have what? You actually have a scheme, actually have a set of principles you're going to go by, actually in a position where you can do something to give your team a chance to be in a better position to activate and do what they needed to do and do what they have to do to score. That's kind of the point, right? He also did the same thing going back on defense. He wasn't afraid after a play to rush back to make sure that he was going to distract the lanes or disrupt the lanes, give his defense a chance to get up the court and also stop the team that they were playing against. Very well done. Bravo, Zulu. Good job, JC King. Can't wait to see how much farther you're going to go. And I'm super curious to see where you're going to end up. I think it's going to be a nice little fit wherever you're going to be, and you're going to have some fun because there's a lot of slashes, a lot of people who move, and a lot of people who want to be open in this league. It's going to be a party time for you, my friend. Thank you for listening to this half of the Talk Dirty to Me podcast. Catch you on the other side.
Thank you for listening to the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro.
Want to get involved? Bring it. Drop in discord.gg/SimWorld NBA.
If you have the brain,
Join as a coach.
If you have the game, join as a player. See the game, be the game. But now, back to Talk Dirty to Me with
The Maestro.
Once again, for the Soul Children String section, y'all.
Let's get back to some wonderful sounds.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Talk Dirty to Me podcast. Let's talk about moving some D. And it's as simple as it sounds. I'm going to talk to my peep. I'm going to talk to the guards. Y'all my peoples. All right? So y'all going to understand what I'm talking about. And hopefully this will help you a little bit. Every play does not have to start at the top of the key. Now, if your coach tells you that, then you do that. But there's a way to start at the top of the key without always being at the top of the key. 2 steps to the left, 2 steps to the right, changes the perspective, changes the view, removes the depth and line of sight for your defense, especially if you have a team that is on the move, especially if you have a team that has good off-ball movement principle throughout the game. Allowing your team to move, giving them an opportunity to move, giving them more freedom. Why do I not want to always be at the top of the key when I start a play? Well, because I don't want the end lines to become another defender. Think about it this way. A guard comes up, stands at the top of the key or at the top of the 3-point circle, arc or whatever, and I'm there, and I start my play there every single time. I've now forced my team to have to deal with not just the defender that's on them, 2 side end lines and 1 back court end line or 1 front court end line. So that means we've added 3 defenders, limiting their range. That is not a good thing. However, if I take 2 steps to the right or 2 steps to the left, and I change that angle just a little bit, I've now allowed my team to use more of the depth of the court, allow my wingmen to also have the upper edges, as well as even to the half court line as open positioning, not being totally guarded. Yes, I know, I get it. The half court line is an unseen defender. You can't go back and forth over. But how about the freedom you have that you're not stepping out of bounds and then coming and then getting the ball as you step back in, and now you have a turnover? Think about this to the ultimate sense of chess. How you make those first couple of moves tells me how you're going to attack me, right? Now, nothing wrong with that, but don't you want an attack that could also flush from the backside? So if you are a knight to rook 2 guy, and then the queen pawn to pawn 4 position, if you're one of those people and you do that every single time, I know what to do for you. I'm just going to come right up the middle because you're giving me the middle of the floor. That's what you want to control in chess anyway, but you do not have to do it from the middle unless your opponent makes it that easy. Same thing goes for the point guard as they're bringing the ball up. If I come up, if I make my move as I go, and I see, okay, they're in zone or they're in man, however I read the defense, I make that shift, go to the left, go to the right. They are forced to now adjust to me, and that forced adjustment now just freed up at least 2 of my teammates where they can now move into an open floor, open court position, and then I can cut through the defense. I can become a disruptor without the ball. Again, what is it about? Changing the sight lines, changing the view lines, changing what the defense sees, more importantly, how they see it. And as a point guard, you can do just as much damage, or as a guard, forgot. Maestro, positionless basketball, quarter in a jar. As a guard, I can do just as much damage without the ball as I can do with the ball. Pass it off, let someone else take the lead. I then circumvent myself through the defense to make them react. Always hand up for the ball. Don't just. This is the other thing. I say this a lot, and I realize from a couple of comments, I don't think it's quite understood. So when I say move with intention, this is exactly what I mean. If I bring the ball up the court, I pass the ball to the left, I then go right and cut through the defense. I don't just run to the defense because I'm getting cardio in. I'm running through the defense with always an eye to where the rim is, where my man is, where the ball is, so I can have my hand up for the ball. Why? If I'm open, why would he not feed me, even though I might be one of the shorter players in the paint? What would that do? That would force the defense to collapse on me. But if I'm fast enough and they're not paying attention, boom, floater, 2 points, get it go, might get fouled, knock down the free throw, all good, Range Rover, all wood. That's how it is. When I say move with intention, that means you're always moving with an eye on the ball, an eye on the rim, an eye on your man, so you can always be in a position to wreak havoc, to be a disruptor, whether you have the ball or not. So many times I see teams go through the plays that are called and the person's not ready for the ball. And we had a thing we used to do. We did it a lot to younger players, but it happened to older players too. If as a guard, if I saw you walking through a play and you weren't looking for me, boom, I'm zinging the ball right at your head. Whatever happens after that is up to you. You can say, my bad, I learned my lesson, or we can have a little fun and then say, my bad, I learned my lesson. But either way, it's your bad and you're learning the lesson. Always move with intention to do damage to the other team. And that means if I'm cutting through the paint, I'm looking for the ball, I know where the rim is, I'm asking for the ball. Whether I get it or not is irrelevant. What is relevant is that my motion through the paint with intention, being active, is going to force the defense to respond. If they take a couple of steps back, leave my man's open, boom, knocks down a 3, knocks down a mid-range jumper, whatever. It still works to our advantage, and that is the key. What can I do without the ball to make the defense have to react to me so we can then score? Easy peasy, lemon chili pie sandwich, whatever the phrase is. Keep that in mind. For all my guards, remember, you can impact the game, impact the defense, whether you have the ball or not. And of all the people who can do it, from the back court to the front court and the front court to the back court. Guards, you move the most. We move the most. We can do the most damage. Let's go on and use our superpower for good and not for evil. Thank you all for listening to this segment of the Talk Dirty to Me podcast. Come back and hang out with your boy, and let's do some damage. What else you want to hear about? What else you want to know about? What else you want to think about? Why is it that every time Jason Bourne drives somebody's car, he never leaves a note saying, my bad? Just curious.
I mean, I didn't realize we were starting right now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again for checking out the Talk Dirty to Me podcast with the Maestro. Drop a tag below and give us a piece of your mind.
So, see you next time and talk dirty to me.